genius. He wrote the book How the Mind Works. I can't wait for his next book, How Boobs Work. Mind meets body. Pinker realizes the mind forms thoughts, and these thoughts cause human behavior. Pinker has observed thoughts. He has seen thoughts cause behavior. Steven Pinker knows that when somebody gets something to eat, and he thinks he will get something to eat, it is the thought that causes him to get something to eat. Don't tell him that people think that they will get something to eat and don't. Don't tell him people don't think at all and still get something to eat. Don't tell him causes happen 100% of the time and are observable. He's a genius, and he'll tell you that. Steven Pinker trashes behaviorism like it deserves. He points out that they say men don't think. Behaviorists never said that or implied it. But it is so cool Steven Pinker points that out. Steven Pinker then says behaviorism is stimulus-response psychology, so it must be wrong. Behaviorists give 6 causes for human behavior that are all much more complicated than stimulus response, but that is beside the point. Pinker makes sure we know it is stimulus-response psychology, even though it isn't by a long shot. Pinker then goes on to say that real-world variables do not predict human behavior. But what does predict human behavior is beliefs. Steven Pinker then gives a perfect example. He says Sally runs from a building that is on fire because she believes her life is in danger and she doesn't want to die. He knows exactly what she believes. He has seen her belief cause her behavior. He is a genius. He states authoritatively that what does predict her behavior and predict it well is her belief. He says it predicts it and predicts it well. Scientific fact. How can you argue with that? Jim Bakker believed if he had sex with a prostitute, he would spend an eternity in hell. From his belief, you can easily predict he would not have sex with a prostitute. Jim Bakker had sex with a prostitute. Morrissey believes he should kick his friend in the eye. From his belief, you can predict he will kick his friend in the eye. Morrissey smiled at his friend. Steven Pinker is so right. Steven Pinker knows there are too many variables to predict human behavior. It is much better to make up causes that never fail when you rig the game. If it fails in different scenarios, you just don't pay attention to that. Science. He is so right about everything. He also says it is time we incorporate common sense into scientific psychology. Genius. Common sense tells you the earth is flat and the sun revolves around the earth. Pinker says these superstitions aren't good for physics or chemistry. Steven Pinker says we do need to incorporate common sense into psychology. Superstitious causes explain everything. Pinker said so, so it must be true. Steven Pinker screws science while calling himself a scientist. Viva superstitious behavior. Steven Pinker explains everything by explaining nothing. Steven Pinker